All right, we only got 3 minutes left to get to the best attraction before the park closes. He's on a mission. It's 10, we gotta get in.
Welcome to For Your Amusement, a theme park podcast that aims to exhaustively evaluate the world's most popular theme park attractions to determine if they are world class. I'm Ryan Bergara.
I'm Byron Marin.
And for this episode's featured attraction, we page Mr. Morrow, Mr. Tom Morrow, to discuss the People Mover, previously in Disneyland, but still at the Magic Kingdom in Disney World. Today's guest, you may know him from Watcher, Mr. Shane Madej.
Hi.
Weird to introduce you as a guest.
Well, I hope you
it.
treat me right, you know?
Well, what is that suggesting?
Well, I'm a guest, and I expect to be treated as such.
Well, the insinuation is that I would not treat you well if we weren't on camera, which I resent.
I'll tell you what, we're off to a pretty rocky start here because you misquoted the ride. Mr. Morrow, Mr. Tom Morrow?
That's right.
Tomorrow.
Oh, you're right. I did do that. How many times have you been on this ride? That's actually a good place to start, Shane. It was your choice. That's how we're doing this. Our guest will choose the topic, and Shane chose People Mover. Why?
I rode it a bunch when I was a boy. I have particularly fond memories of riding it in high school when we went to Disney World with our band. A lot of high schools go to Disney World to play in the little parade. You know, we did that.
You made the cut?
Yeah, of course I did.
That's impressive. I wouldn't have expected
We had a big band. I think it was like 200 or 300 people.
Okay, that makes more sense.
What instrument did you play?
Trumpet. The trumpet!
Like our guy Lou Bega.
Lou. Just like Lou. We went to go play the parade, but obviously you just had like 2 or 3 full days in the parks with just all your high school friends, which is a dream. There was a charm to the People Mover that we could not resist, and we just rode it over and over and over again. I think at some point, because I stayed after the high school trip, I stayed there with my family for another week or so.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to ride the People Mover a record number of times. I was like, I don't know what the record is, but I'm going to try and beat it. I've probably ridden that ride like 30 to 40 times.
Holy shit, that's a fair amount of times. It's definitely more times than I've ridden it. I have not had the opportunity to get on this ride until I went to Disney World for the first time in 2006.
Yeah, I honestly think it's a little embarrassing that they don't have it up and running in Disneyland.
Oh, we'll get into that.
We also developed several rituals over the course of riding it so many times, which we can talk about later. But I'd like you to get to to whatever you got to get to here. Let me know when we can chat.
Okay, first off, very disrespectful. I invite you as a guest, and if you don't know this, listeners and viewers, Shane and I have a rapport. We've hosted several shows over almost a decade, and he's being a little shit right now.
I just don't want to, I don't want to, I don't want to step on the flow of this thing, You got history and fun facts. You got a whole little clipboard here.
Yeah.
And I want you to be able to do that. I don't want to jump the gun.
Actually, I'm curious because you, in a weird way, are the expert of the People Mover more so than either him or I.
Yeah.
I don't know why people would be listening to this podcast if they don't know what the People Mover is, but could you describe it?
A low stakes trip through Tomorrowland. That's all it is.
It doesn't really even describe the crux of it, that it's moving people. Like
that's in the name, isn't it?
You kind of made it seem like it was.
It's a trip. I said a low stakes trip.
But that could be anything. That could be like a flight. That could be a water ride. It could be a roller coaster. See, these are the rich tapestry of words that we paint on this podcast when we describe rides. We involve the ride system. And I don't want to say I want to
address this right up front. I have nothing but respect and admiration for your enthusiasm about rides.
Yeah, a little bit of a pause there before enthusiasm.
I can't meet it, unfortunately.
I mean, it sounds like you can. You went on it 30 to 40 times. That's no small feat.
As a boy.
There's not many people who've been to Disneyland 30 times.
That's true. Well, yes, but this was all, this was in like one trip.
What the fuck? You got on the People Mover 30 times?
We rode it repeatedly. Because you could ask them.
There's no line.
You could just be like, can I keep going? And they'd be like, yeah.
Anyways, let's hop into the history, Byron. Tell us about the People Mover.
All right, so I'm going to take this history back to 1959. 1959 is a banger of a year for Disneyland. In the same year, in Fantasyland and Disneyland, they open the Matterhorn bobsleds. They also open the monorail. And they also open the submarine voyage.
3 e-tickets.
Scary.
3 e-tickets. So Tomorrowland is kind of in the most pristine shape. This leads Imagineering and Walt Disney into the 60s, and they're feeling like they've really hit their stride with Disneyland. It gives them the opportunity to kind of look at new horizons, and they get commissioned by various companies to develop attractions to premiere at the 1964 to 1965 World's Fair.
I would kill to have been at any of the World's Fairs.
So if you had a time machine.
If I had a time machine, I would love to go. You're familiar with the World's Fairs, right?
Growing up in Chicago, obviously.
Yeah, there was the Chicago World's Fair, which was
big focus on the Columbian Exposition, 1893, I think that one. Mr. Ferris with his wonderful wheel.
Wait, is that really what it's named after?
He premiered the Ferris wheel at the Columbian Exposition.
That was named after a guy named Ferris?
Yeah, dude.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
For Disney and his team, this gives them an opportunity to develop new tech for new attractions on other people's dime.
That's because there were sponsors coming into the
Exactly.
World's Fair
So-
to give money to people to make attractions to get people to be like, I love Goodyear tires. And things like that. Yeah.
So by the time 1964 rolls around, Disney has created 4 new attractions, not to be debuting at Disneyland, but they're created in Burbank and they are shipped over and assembled in Queens, New York. You got Small World, which is sponsored by
Pepsi.
There it is, Pepsi Cola.
That's Pepsi?
Pepsi.
made all the little
Yeah.
dolls?
When we do Small World, there's a very funny episode of how that happened. That deal was struck only because of pettiness,
I would
essentially.
lie. Yeah, that ride would be better if all those little dolls were drinking Pepsi.
You got General Electric that funds the Carousel of Progress. And then you have the Illinois State Pavilion that funds Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. And then
banger.
finally, you have Ford Motor Cars that funds the only ride that doesn't make it back to Disneyland. However, the tech that goes into creating this ride, the ride system itself, is implemented into the PeopleMover.
Well, how about that?
One particular business trip, this featured a legendary Imagineer, John Hench. He went with Walt Disney to a steel mill where they created all of the steel for Ford's cars at the time. And that's when they noticed a conveyor belt system that was basically moving around these hot bricks of metal. They had a couple big takeaways from that was, first off, what if we were to create an attraction where if everything ran as a conveyor belt, we wouldn't have collisions and everything could just continuously be moving. Everything will always stay in sync.
Also, the rider capacity of that would be incredible.
That was a big part of it. And the other big takeaway was noticing these small little wheels that the bricks of steel were moving across, which ultimately led to the idea of using propulsion tires to move the first PeopleMover.
It's a nifty thing to think of, instead of having a car move, having just the track move. There's a motor in the track, not in the car.
It's really smart.
It's pretty fucking
Really
cool.
smart.
Just your delivery of it's pretty smart. It had the same kind of energy of that meme of that lady who's like being screamed at, and she's just covered, like has the blanket next to her face. She's just kind of like Shane in the at gunpoint in this room with 2 psychopaths. You're like, oh, the track moves, not the car. You're like, it's pretty cool, man.
I don't feel bad you asked for this ride.
No, it's fascinating stuff.
So this is the rabbit hole we've gone
chosen.
down. Yeah.
Enjoy your carrots.
Well, the holidays are here, and with that comes all sorts of treats and sweets. My favorite, personally, is a generic chocolate chip cookie, because, you know, who doesn't love a chocolate chip cookie?
You're a garbage monster. But just because it's that time of year, it doesn't mean that you have to give up on your healthy eating habits.
And Green Chef is going to help you out.
Green Chef is the #1 meal kit for eating clean and is here to make sure the occasional Christmas cookie doesn't set you back.
Green Chef makes eating well easy with plans to fit every lifestyle. Whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just looking to eat more balanced meals, Green Chef offers a range of recipes to suit your preferences.
Choose from 80+ weekly options that change every week, featuring delicious, nutritionist-approved recipes, and mix and match meals to meet your lifestyle needs.
My biggest hurdle with eating healthy is that it's always so boring, but thanks to Green Chef, not anymore. Feel your best and satisfy your cravings with adventurous eats made nutritious. Discover exciting new flavors with recipes that feature certified organic fruits and vegetables, sustainably sourced seafood, and unique farm fresh ingredients like tart cherries, truffle zest, and rainbow carrots, and flavor-packed recipes like buttery lemon garlic shrimp, maple butternut squash risotto, and sriracha tamari beef bowls.
Of course, you're saying right now, with the holidays, I can't be shopping and measuring all the time. Well, with Green Chef, now you can. With pre-portioned and prepped ingredients, including pre-measured sauces, spices, and dressings delivered right to your door, the guesswork is gone.
And here's something to take into the new year. Every Green Chef customer gets a free session with our registered dietitians who will walk you through how to make clean eating work for you. Sign up and start your journey towards better health today.
So kickstart your New Year's resolutions this year and go to greenchef.com/64your and use code 64your to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months.
That's greenchef.com/64your and use code 64your to get 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months.
In regards to the Ford Magic Highway that debuted at the 1964 World's Fair, the ride vehicles were convertible Ford cars.
The pictures from that are sick, by the way.
Is it like Radiator Springs?
It's just, imagine a bunch of just convertible, cool-looking old
I'm
cars,
gonna look it up.
and then just people sitting in them.
What's it called? Ford
And
what?
then, and then
Ford
just moving
Magic
without
Highway.
moving.
Ford Magic.
Or no,
bet you-
sorry, not Magic Highway. Ford Magic Skyway.
How many people do you think were smooching on that convertible? You're at the fair. You're at the World's
You're
Fair.
pretty
Whoa,
exposed
this
though.
looks
It's not like
cool.
you're
Whoa, these
going
are
in-
full-size cars.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're
They're
basi-
driving past dinosaurs.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you go
I
back
sounded
in
like Tommy Lee
time
Jones when I said that.
because
Those are dinosaurs.
I don't
nothing
care.
screams Ford more than going back in time and seeing dinosaurs.
Well,
in a convertible.
What do cars run on? Petroleum,
Sure.
made from the bones of dinosaurs.
And also, those dinosaurs ended up making it back to Disneyland, too.
Sure did.
The train.
That's
The
right.
train diorama.
When this comes back to Disneyland, Walt's thinking ahead. Same with Imagineers. He's kind of got his eyes set on, an experimental prototype community of tomorrow.
He's got swamp
He
fever.
wants to take,
He's got
public.
swamp fever.
He wants to take swamps and public transportation to new heights. He wants to pitch a PeopleMover, basically use it as a prototype to use in Disneyland and hopefully take it to actual cities.
Yeah, because he thinks the PeopleMover system could be used in, like, Chicago, for instance.
I'm curious, you guys probably know more about this than I do, but when he did set out with the experimental prototype community of the
Epcot.
future, did he think that it was gonna, like, people were gonna live there?
Yes.
He
Oh,
wanted that to be.
Yeah.
There's a fun fact coming about that later, so...
Oh, I'm excited to
lock
have
that
some
away.
fun here.
Yeah, lock that away. Fucking unbelievable, dude.
This may come as a surprise to you guys, but Ford wasn't particularly keen on continuing to sponsor an attraction that
Forever.
could potentially threaten the automotive industry.
Yeah.
So Ford's out.
Yeah.
When PeopleMover does come to Disneyland, it's actually sponsored by Goodyear, which is also on the surface level kind of ironic, but they ended up using Goodyear tires to move the PeopleMover.
Yeah, the Goodyear tires were in between the tracks.
Yeah,
and they were
about-
just kind of like...
About every 9 feet or so, you'd have another spinning tire. There's no motors on the vehicles themselves. When this opens in 1967, Walt Disney has passed away. The dreams of a futuristic city die along with Disney's lobbying effort to get this transportation
Yeah.
method into like Los Angeles and other cities around the world. It's still a very popular attraction. It actually gets a D ticket. It was a 16-minute long ride, had a maximum speed of 7 miles an hour, and it did have some slight elevation changes.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Dude.
And I'm sure we'll get to this at some point, but of course it had an incredible rider capacity. To be exact, 4,885 riders per hour.
Where does that stack up in the current lineup of rides right now?
Disney World's version, similar ridership capacity, is still the highest ride capacity of any Disney ride. It's not even close.
That makes sense because
Not even remotely
it
close.
doesn't stop.
Each train carried 16 passengers, 4 cars. They each had little white canopies on top, keep people nice and shaded, but everything else was open air. A great time, a great way for people to get a new point of view of Tomorrowland.
It's also exciting to think of a car or a ride system that never stops.
Yeah.
Because when you think about that, if you were to pitch that in a room from a safety standpoint, you would have to think people would be like, well, aren't people gonna fucking trip when they're trying to get into the vehicle? And apparently not many people have. I didn't read too many accidents happening.
I witnessed that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And
Was it you?
No, it was an elderly person.
Oh.
And
So-
they were fine, but it was when I was there in high school that like they didn't really clock how to get on there.
Yeah.
I don't even know how it happened because it does move with it, but they were sort of holding on to it and just their legs weren't moving and they just sort of slowly laid down on the conveyor
So
belt.
they just kind of dragged for a little bit. Did they let go?
They did let go eventually.
Any screaming or noise produced by this particular? old
Yeah,
man?
because we made fun of it. Just sort of like a, oh, you know.
Well, I mean, also, it's kind of like that scene in Austin Powers when that guy gets crushed by the grinder, like the cement kind of grinder.
I'm realizing now I've seen more than my fair share of elderly wipeouts.
It's starting to make me suspect that you're causing them. The point saying is that if you want to add some entertainment value to this ride, I propose during the Halloween season,
Speed it up.
you speed it up during the load
Or-
process. So people have to kind of get onto it, like, you know, when you're chasing a train and you're robbing it on a horse.
Or if the main circle platform goes in the opposite direction.
Gotcha.
What about that?
Yes,
I
that
don't even
would
know
be
if that's possible with the way that it loads in, but they should do that.
I just think making it go a little faster.
Make it go real fast.
Like, and variable. Depending on who's there. Like, if it's an old person, slow it down. But if
Slow
it's
it
like you see
down.
a young whippersnapper,
Fuck them up.
let's go up to 5 miles per hour. Let's just see.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on here to the history.
1975, the Wedway People Mover opens in Tomorrowland at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. Biggest differences being no more little white canopies on every single cart of the train. It's actually completely open air.
Oh my God, I never even thought about they don't have roofs on them now anymore.
However,
The whole thing
there is
covered.
a roof, yes. So there's
But
a
there used to be a
roof
little...
that mimics the entire track.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking cool. I wish they bring them back. I think that's cool.
That's one of the big differences. And then another one being that it is no longer propelled by tires. It is propelled by linear induction motors, which are basically magnets.
Yeah, bitch! Magnets! Oh!
This attraction has gone through a few different names, actually.
Yes.
At Walt Disney World, it opened as Wedway People Mover, as I just mentioned. WED being the acronym for Walter Elias Disney, which is what Imagineering was called at the time. Eventually be called the Tomorrowland Transit Authority.
I like that. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
There's still vestiges of that in the ride
There
somewhere.
is.
You get
Still-
TTA logos on it. I think,
Yeah,
right?
they still got that today. I think it was probably like mid 2000s to maybe I think around 2009. They put both the names together, so then it became the Tomorrowland Transit Authority People Mover. I think some people were missing the People Mover in the name, so they brought it back. And now I think it just goes by People Mover, but they still slip in the Tomorrowland Transit Authority like on their website and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
It's a cool way to say it. Makes it sound like a legit transportation service.
When it was at Disneyland, it actually went by the Goodyear People Mover because that was the big sponsor at the time. Speaking of the Disneyland version of People Mover, it unfortunately is no longer running today. In 1995, it closes down. This is during the time where they felt that Tomorrowland needed another facelift. They thought they could retrofit the People Mover attraction into a more thrilling,
How?
while still keeping the layout the same.
They just put bugs in the cars.
And this
no.
resulted in the ill-fated Rocket Rod attraction, which I don't think even lasted a year.
I think it
And
lasted maybe a little over a year. My memory's foggy.
Did
but
you ride it?
I got to go on rocket rods, and boy, what a stinker. Because it tried to retrofit the People Mover track without changing it, it caused this thing where it would go fast in the straightaways, but the structure wasn't strong enough to support it going that fast around curves.
They didn't bank they didn't bank the curves. They left the layout exactly the same, which compromised the structural integrity of the track.
So what happened? And it had to pause all the time and then go curve and then just speed up on the straightaways and then
Jesus.
go around the curve. And it, as a result, the computer system was freaking out. So it broke down constantly. And you would see line waits of like 3 to 4 hours. Pretty
That
consistently.
sucks.
And what really sucks too is you still, when you go to Disneyland today, you just look at like what looks like a
see the
skeleton
bones
of what it is, just kind of rotting over in certain places, because you can't simply just like, oh, bring the People Mover back. Let's just bring those cars back and let it run as it used to. That track is laced. It's interwoven. It's the fabric connecting Tomorrowland together.
It's the
So
nerve system.
to do a
Unfortunately.
comprehensive redo of the People Mover means you'd basically have to close
Tomorrowland.
all
yeah.
Tomorrowland down.
And it would cost so much money. And so as a result, we just have the rotting carcass of the People Mover and then the rocket rods just looming over the top of Tomorrowland.
It's a damn shame.
And if you see them from the monorail, you could just see the tracks look like a haunted house. They're just like full of like leaves and bugs and shit. So really, actually, you were right. There are bugs on it now.
Good.
Not the kind you want. Today's show is brought to you by Microdose Gummies. You've probably heard increasing discussion about microdosing. Look, folks are microdosing THC for a bunch of reasons. For me, it's a go-to for relieving anxiety or just relaxing a bit, allowing me to get out of my own head and focus on being in the moment. But people use it for all sorts of reasons: relieving pain, boosting your mood, exercise and post-workout recovery, spicing up the sex life a little maybe. Huh? You know. Hey, look, it's a great alternative to trying to get a little action going on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride like some of you weirdos like to do. You know who you are. All I'm saying is there's a ton of benefits, and if you're interested in finding out how microdose gummies can work for you, here's how. To learn more about microdosing THC, go to microdose.com and use code FYA to get free shipping and 30% off your first order. Again, that's microdose.com, code FYA. Microdose.com, code FYA for 30% off.
That pretty much closes the book on the history. Today, we got the last People Mover.
In Disney
one
World.
of two.
Operating at...
Do they have anything similar around the world in any of the other international parks?
I don't think so. I think this is it.
It seems pretty beloved, honestly, for what it is.
Among park heads.
I guess I was a park head in my youth, but, you know...
I'd consider you a park head now.
I'm actually curious, did the one in Disneyland, like, go into Space Mountain and stuff?
Yeah, it did. When it first came out, it adventured through Inner Space, which is now Star Tours.
Mm-hmm.
It went through Space Mountain, it went through the Carousel of Progress building, and it went through what is now a bunch of gift shops, really.
Yeah, the Star Trader and stuff like that. It does that in Disney World, too.
On your right is Star Traders, home to the greatest goods in the galaxy.
You shouldn't be allowed to see Space Mountain slowly, you know, when it moves through there nice and slow and you hear people screaming, but you're just sitting back enjoying a nice churro or something.
Oh, we'll get into that in the good because I love it. This is a good segue into fun facts, and you actually stole one of my fun facts about the naming. It was Wetway first, then changed to Tomorrowland Transit Authority in 1994, and then people were angry that the People Mover title was taken off the end of it, so they put it back on in 2010.
I'm trying to think of Byron's, what would your transportation device be called if it had to be based on your name?
Oh gosh.
The Byron bus?
Oh, the Marin Mover.
The Berguchu?
If it was like a method of boat transportation, then I could be the mariner, like a mariner.
Oh, that's also good.
Yes.
Yours would be the Madej way. That's easy.
Madej way.
Mine would be, let's see, Bergie's Big Bitch.
Bergie's Big Bitch.
How about that?
Yeah.
The Bergara buggy.
The Bergara buggy is also good. I'm a little more partial to Bergie's Big Bitch.
Bergie Buggy.
Anyways, more fun facts here. In Disney World, you actually pass by Progress City, which was Walt's original model for Epcot. It's pretty glorious.
First up, Progress City. Walt Disney's amazing dream for a community of tomorrow.
That was nuts. He thought people were going to live... Like, when you look at that model, it looks insane.
Well, you got to think about what he had done so far in his career. He was a guy who everyone thought that animated films couldn't be serious motion.
It all worked out for him.
That's true. They didn't think you could make motion pictures off of animated films. He made Snow White, got nominated for an Oscar.
He brought life to a mouse.
He did. And then he made a theme park that no one thought was going to be a good idea, to the point where he barely could find people who would give him money for it. And yet, here we are today. So, of course, a guy who has that kind of track record thinks, I'm going to revolutionize how cities are done.
That's true.
We actually don't know if it would have worked because he died.
Well, they have that Celebration Town, isn't that? What's all that about?
What's Celebration Town?
Celebration is the town in Florida that's like
partially
owned by Disney, or was initially.
It was. I don't believe it is anymore, though.
I've never heard of this. This is a blind spot for me.
All the sickos live there.
That sounds about right.
There was a big news article, I want to say like 5 or 10 years ago, where the first person, I think someone was killed there or someone took their own life there, and they were like...
Well, is that when they said, okay, it's not our sign anymore. No one dies on Disney property.
Disney whacked everybody on the island then. Moving on here, Disney World offers you the opportunity to see Space Mountain with the lights on.
With the lights on?
Well, because if you pass through Space Mountain when it's not working... and you're on the People Mover, you get to see it, and that is
brought this up. I have a particular story. It was a crowded day. I was there by myself one morning because for whatever reason my family didn't want to get up that morning, and
well, you also like to always rope drop and wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning.
And you know, the park opened and Space Mountain was broken down, and I just started lapping People Mover. And I saw it with the lights on, and just as we start leaving, I see the lights go off.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get ahead on this shit. So
Oh.
when I saw the lights go off, I'm like, it's almost showtime, and I got off the People Mover. I walked within a couple minutes. I was the first one to just walk through and get on Space Mountain. I might have some iPhone footage I actually took at the time of not when the lights turned off, but like one of the first pass I did with the lights on.
Were you the only person on the People Mover at that time?
I was.
Okay, because I was about to say, did you lead a charge or?
No. I was uncontested.
That's what they call insider trading.
Yeah, because you still had the cast members up to like, we don't know when it's gonna, because they're obligated. It's like, oh, we don't know when it's gonna open.
If you had to pick an attraction to live in, which one would it be? Would it be Space Mountain with the lights on? Would you like to have a little bunk bed in there?
I think I'd live Haunted Mansion.
You'd live in the Haunted Mansion?
I think it'd be
Which
fun.
room?
In the graveyard room. Where they're all singing.
It's a big party.
I mean, better than other parts of the mansion. I imagine that to be quite unpleasant.
Like
actually.
the attic.
Like the attic, or even the first part of the Haunted Mansion where there's that guy trapped in the coffin, or the everlasting hallway. That all seems not fun.
Byron, where would you live?
I would put the People Mover in contention for that.
You'd live on the People Mover.
I mean, you already spend a lifetime just on one cycle. That thing is like over 10 minutes long,
so the metaphor of it all.
We'd get to the park at rope drop. We'd just see you on there brushing your teeth in your little robe.
Yeah, then every pass, it'd be really easy for that corn dog handoff or whatever snack they have.
You should try and set a record. You should try and see.
No, I'm not going to try. No, there's a
YouTube.
I've seen there's a YouTube video. I got to find out who it is. There's someone who just sat on it all day.
Yeah.
And lapped it like, I forget how many times it was, but it was.
It's the 50th lap. Let me tell you about the people I've seen on this ride. They've been every type of person.
If you get in, at least when I was there in high school, I don't know about recently, but when I was there in high school, we got in with like the people working there, because I don't know if they always let you lap it or just like stay on.
Yeah.
But if you had a good rapport with them, you'd be like, that's me again.
But it's also worth mentioning that the three of us have been on this ride together recently.
Yeah. That was the last time I was on it, I think.
Me too. That was the last time.
Three of us.
It was for my bachelor party.
Your bachelor party.
We essentially did the opposite of a rope drop. They were like putting the rope up.
That's true.
It was the very last ride of the night.
We were running.
10, we got to get in. Yeah.
Into the entrance. So as a matter of fact, someone in our group, I think I have an iPhone clip of this. Someone in our group did not get in.
We're on, dude. We did it. We fucking did it. We finished it. Win! Let's go, baby! Win! No!
We ran down to rescue them and then talked to the very nice
and they
cast
still
member,
didn't-
and they let them in.
No.
Quinn got let in, didn't he?
No, we did not get let in.
I thought he got let in.
He did not get let in.
He didn't. I don't think he made it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I think that was our last night in the Magic Kingdom, and I was like, guys, I really want to squeeze this in.
I was pretty pumped too, because I knew if I were to like say it to a group of non-theme park people,
yeah,
like,
it's a tough sell.
Yeah. So as soon as I heard whispers of you, like, oh, come on, go, people like, oh, we got the numbers now.
I think you would actually get along quite well with some of the people that I went with in 2017. They rode Living with the Land like.
Oh,
that's funny
because
that's one of the ones that I would have put it in contention for a ride I could live on.
Yeah.
We also took my bachelor party on that ride, and we'll talk about this when we cover that ride eventually. No one was pleased.
I think it's a hoot.
I love it. Look, you don't have to.
Great music too.
Is that where you would live? Where would you live?
It's got to be like a ride too, like one that moves, not like a Mickey's house or something.
A ride that moves
and moves you
and moves me. I think I would live in Spaceship Earth.
That's a good one. Very comfortable.
Very comfortable.
I've almost taken a nap on that.
You get to hear the dulcet tones of Dame Judi Dench.
So here's to the next 30,000 years on Spaceship Earth. While no one knows for sure what we'll see or do, I do know it will be quite an adventure. An adventure that we'll take and make together.
It'd be cool if, like, when the ride wasn't running, Judy was still narrating, and she was like, Shane is taking a shit.
Moving on here.
More fun facts.
We only did 3, baby. And we already mentioned that the track has the motor here. It used to be 500 Goodyear electric drive wheels that would move the thing around. Now it's 629 electromagnets.
Okay.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's cool.
629 magnets.
That's a lot of magnets.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
The Tom Morrow pun.
Paging Mr. Morrow. Mr. Tom Morrow, please contact Mr. Johnson in the control tower to confirm your flight to the moon.
Is a reference to Disney lore of old. The mascot of Interventions was named Tom Morrow 2.0, who was the host of Interventions, and Mr. Johnson was the flight director of Mission to Mars, which closed in 1993. We already established this was a D ticket. It did start as an E ticket, though, for a little bit in Disney World, and then they switched it a year later.
What does that mean?
So back in the day when you went to Disneyland,
was there a CBA?
You were A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah.
You know when you go to the fair and there are certain rides, you have to pay more tickets to get on them.
You can get some peanuts with this.
Yeah.
You get a hot dog with
you
this.
pay 12 tickets to get on the
you
roller
could throw
coaster.
a baseball at a clown with this one
for 2 tickets.
Yeah.
But then to get on the roller coaster, it's 12 tickets.
Okay.
So e-ticket is the ultimate, like you only got a couple e-tickets in your book. So an e-ticket, pirates.
So E is top of the heap.
E is top of the heap. That does it for fun facts. But before we get into our next section, let's have a word from our sponsors.
Brrr. Winter is here, and for me, that means struggling to find the right temperature when I sleep. I recently found a way to stay at the perfect temperature all night long using silver-infused bed sheets made by Miracle Made that were inspired by NASA. The infused silver also prevents up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands and feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. Miracle sheets are the perfect gift for your spouse, friends, or family. Who doesn't want better sleep and luxurious feeling bed sheets? And since these come with 3 free towels, you get 2 gifts in 1, just in time for the holidays. So, stop sleeping on bacteria. Bacteria could clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. Go to trymiracle.com/FYA. That's trymiracle.com/FYA to try it today or gift it to someone special this holiday season. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Save over 40%. And if you use our promo FYA at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/FYA and use the code FYA to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/FYA to treat yourself, a friend, or a loved one this holiday season.
All right, let's move on to current reputation. Let's discuss how popular this attraction is today. What are the average wait times? Where does it fit in the landscape?
You guys love rides. Average wait times? Is this in every episode?
That's right, man.
Sorry, we didn't brief you on the format of this show, did we?
I skimmed an episode.
What
but
holes?
I must have missed this part.
Hey, what holes did it plug? And how do people generally feel about this
holes
ride?
to plug?
Yeah, because
you're talking about like common issues.
Well, if your theme park is missing certain parts.
You know, I remember when you pitched this, I was like, this, I think it could be a good way for this sort of niche podcast topic to break through to the mainstream. But now I don't think that's true.
The thing is, we're covering PeopleMover right now. So
you're right.
This is the niche of the niche.
Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, tell me about the holes and the wait time.
No, we got to talk about the average wait times.
Okay.
I'm going to go strictly off the Walt Disney World version. Its highest recorded wait time was 65 minutes.
What?
Yes.
Well,
highest recorded 65 despite...
No, 65 minutes is a long time for this ride.
That for a ride with that kind of capacity, pretty mind-blowing. This was on Monday, February 18th, 2019. I had to look a little bit deeper, and I found out that was actually President's Day, so it was on a holiday.
Slammed.
Was it also like did they reopen the ride this day? Was that the reason?
I was trying to fish for that, and I could not find.
Why would
it didn't link up with any.
I mean, even so, how does that stack up to the longest wait times that you've encountered with other episodes?
Like 400 minutes, but I mean,
yeah, but those are like,
so it's all relative.
And I think that that's actually a good segue to talk about the current reputation as well. Like, this is very much an under the radar kind of ride for most. Like, I don't think when people like good friends or family I know that are going to Disney World for the first time, I don't tell them, hey, you got to get on that People Mover.
Yeah,
because no one's going to appreciate it.
I think I do tell people that but it's more of a cut yourself a little slack, take a break, enjoy the ride. And also, I recommend it to people solely because I don't know how long it's going to be around.
And I usually recommend it to people because it's not a 65-minute wait, but it was on this day, February 18th, 2019. And if you're listening to it and you were waiting in line for
I'd love to hear from
65
you.
minutes, the all-time average wait time is only 13 minutes.
That feels high
great.
too. That
That's
feels
great.
every time I've gotten on this ride.
Yeah, it's usually a walk.
There is no line. So this is shocking to me.
You know what's fucking mind-blowing? Because I was just curious. While I was like looking at the numbers, it shows you the wait time currently. So the day of this podcast recording, which is a Monday,
Yeah.
not a holiday, it was 40 minutes at noon.
Wow.
40 minutes.
Can we look it up right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look it up.
I told you,
Let's
wait
look it up
times.
right now.
Wait times are exciting.
What
man.
it's got to be.
You got the app on there?
It's got to be almost 7
Little Disney
p.m.
World app on there?
Almost 7 p.m. on the East Coast time.
Talk to me. What do we got?
It's down to 20. Right
That's
now.
crazy,
That's still
dude.
pretty
7 p.m.
long.
I look, I don't, it's not that I'm saying it's not worth that, but I can't believe that it is that. I've never heard somebody be like, I want to get on PeopleMover other than theme park heads.
I mean, no one talks poorly about this ride that I know of.
Nobody has anything
you can't
bad
say
to
it has
say about it.
It just definitely has a good to potentially great reputation for those who are very familiar with this ride and have been on it many times, especially theme park fans. But I think even for your like an average guest, it's still, I don't think anyone leaves upset.
Which is a good segue into first impressions. Just recounting your first time on this ride. What did you think of it?
I was a baby, so I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's cool.
I mean, I think my parents took us to Disney World when I was like 3 or 4.
When do you think is too young to bring your kid to a theme park?
Oh, I feel like if you're like 2 or 3, it's like
It's pushing it. It's pushing it. I agree. I think 4 is the sweet spot.
4 is probably good.
I think Disneyland, and this might be wrong, so we could update this, but I'm pretty sure under 3 you get in for free.
I think a good age you got to bring. I mean, and you don't have to. You take your kids wherever you want. I think if you're gonna take your
That's
kids,
not true. Wait, that's not true. I don't agree with that.
take your children wherever you want.
No, fuck that. Dude, I don't like when people bring kids to the movie theater after 9 p.m. That's absurd.
Yeah, I remember someone brought like a real tiny baby to a screening of Hereditary that I was at. And I was
What
like,
are you
can't
doing?
be doing that?
What was the first time you got it that you could remember? Like the first time you were a sentient being, what did you think getting off of this? Were you like, that was worth it? Or did you not have an appreciation for what it was at that time?
I mean, it's one of the, I don't remember. I don't know. I can say that, when we went back and I was in high school, at that point, I was like, yeah, I remember loving this ride. So I knew that I had fond memories of it as a child. But it's one of those things like, I don't remember seeing Star Wars for the first time.
Oh, interesting.
It's just one of those things I've known since I was a young boy, and my memories of it are so deep and entrenched that there's no beginning to them.
So when you get on it now, do you feel like the warm fuzzies? Like, does it give you that nostalgic
It honestly
rush?
does. Yeah,
That's cool.
It is one of the
I wish
few
I had that.
rides, and I think that's true of a lot of the rides at Disney World.
That's why you like Magic Kingdom so much.
I do. I love Magic Kingdom.
You like
because it
Magic-
reminds me of childhood.
Yeah.
And Disney World was a very special treat for us humble folks of the Midwest.
My first time I got on it, I was like, that was fun. It was a nice escape from the heat of Florida. A nice breeze in your face. I was like, this is kind of cool.
She's smooth, she's smooth, Joe. It's a nice smooth ride.
Yeah, I can't confirm the first time I was, because it very well could have been when I was 2 years old, because that was my first time at Disney World.
Jesus.
But I can't confirm.
How many times did you go in your youth? I sounded like Jiminy Glick
gosh.
when I said that, but
No, I mean, it would have been, I went when I was 2 years old. I went when I was 8 years old. I went senior year of high school. So they were very much spaced out. Funny enough, when you're talking about like, what's the age that's too young? My first memory ever that I can recall was on someone's shoulder and watching the Epcot geodesic sphere, the Epcot ball.
Yeah.
As we exited the park, that's the first memory I can recall.
I'm always
Was
so
looking back at that.
fascinated when people, and I guess you can place it because you're like, I remember being a child. I am always so fascinated when people are like, the earliest memory I can recall.
I have one
because
too.
I can't place I can't chronologically. I can't do that.
What's wrong with your brain?
Well, I just can't. I
Everything
can't.
before age like 7, I'm like, yeah, I have memories from being a baby. I guess if I knew I'd gone to Disney World at age 2 and I did have a memory, I'd be like, well, I guess that's it because you can place it.
Well, mine is I remember seeing the parking attendant vests in the Disneyland parking lot.
Yeah.
I remember that pretty clearly.
And you were like, boy, yo.
Yeah, I had a huge baby boner. I was 3, so it wasn't huge, but you get what I'm saying.
Let me substitute this memory for my first time riding it, because I didn't think of this until now when we've been marinating on this. And I remembered that when we went there in high school, I roped several of my friends into the mania of like, let's ride this several times.
Yeah.
One of my friends had a breadstick from
oh my God. Pizza Port?
I think from Pizza Port, and he was eating it on the ride. But at some point, I took a photo of it, and he just unzipped his pants, and had the breadstick poking out.
Pretty good.
So it looks like he had his little penis out on the People Mover.
Check it out, my bread. This
It's
breadstick.
a very funny photo.
This breadstick looks like my penis.
And I think
Very
he just
funny.
has like his hands up.
Well, as you
just
do.
out on the People Mover.
Is it a little breezy on this thing, or is it just me?
We were in high school, and that's when you're annoying. I think this was like sophomore year. The things that we did on the ride, one which was really fun, is when you would pass the other train of people.
Yeah.
We would just lean over and we'd just be like, "What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up?" Sometimes people join, the people pass. They all had a good time with that. The other thing we would do is when you were sort of circling the plaza, we would just look down and we'd be like, "Hey, Steve!" We would just yell. We would yell really generic names, or like, "Dave, look up here!" And we'd just like laugh our asses off when some idiot would look up and be like, "Huh?"
Let's go through the good and the bad. What are the good and bad things about this ride? First good, there's almost no line on this bad boy. That's always great. You don't want to stand in a long line at a theme park, and there's almost never a long line for this ride.
Yeah.
With the exception of February 19th, 2019 for some odd reason.
That's right.
65 minutes is ungodly.
Who knows what was going on that day,
I bet you people are smooching. This is a good smooching ride if you really wanted to.
Oh, big time.
Well, you think about it, there's a lot of periods
darkness.
of pure dark. Like so dark that you can't even see your hand in front of your face.
If I was cool in high school and I was riding this with anyone other than 7 boys,
which is my experience as well.
I for sure would have been smooching on that thing.
I mean, to the surprise of nobody, since you're watching us on this podcast, I did not do that. This was also exclusively ridden.
Sounds cool.
With my friends and my mother.
You may have kissed her on the cheek.
No, we're not. We're not going into Oedipus territory.
No. You give your mother a sweet kiss on the cheek.
If I gave my mother a kiss on the cheek, she'd punch me in the face.
Well,
that's an Asian thing. You wouldn't understand it.
Okay.
Another good here. The world building of this ride. It's a stupid ride, but there is world building going on.
You feel like you're part of a society.
Well, the VO that plays over the ride, they talk of jetpacks, transfers.
They talk of jetpacks.
If you have wings, jetpacks, or please do not take flight while on board. Thank you.
Yeah, transfers to red and green lines.
That's right.
And that you're on the blue line.
This is the TTA Blue Line. Transfer to green and red lines.
Apparently, back in the day, the green line was something that would go to a different city. And the red line would take you off planet.
It would be cool if the train got hijacked by like some cyberpunks.
That would be cool. They do stuff like that.
They were like, "We're gonna kill you."
I like that it treats it like an actual train.
Yeah,
like it has the same kind of cadence and announcements that you would get on like the tube or the subway or whatever. What the fuck is your guys' metro called in Chicago?
The CTA, the Chicago Transit Authority.
There it is.
Yeah. Which maybe that's TTA. CTA?
Yeah. Well, I've got a lot of influence from Chicago, so it's possible.
Nice.
It also speaks of made-up galaxies, like Galaxy N31, which is something. And there, at the end, it says, "Keep your arms and antenna and other appendages from free from the moving doors."
Please keep arms, antennae, and other appendages away from the doors and remain seated until they open automatically.
Aliens.
Another good here, the light breeze.
Oh, yeah.
The tour guide aspects of it, like on the right, you see this, on the left, you see that. I like that they update the VO for new attractions, like when Tron just opened. Now they have Tron in the ride.
Now approaching Tomorrowland Speedway and Tron Light Cycle Ride.
I love a good circuit, and these are 2 of the best tracks in the cosmos for a bit of light, speedy competition.
I just like that there's like a tour guide aspect to it. It's very relaxing. Some of my most calm moments I've ever had in a theme park have been on this ride, with just the light breeze hitting your face. You're free from all the crowds.
Yeah.
And you have this very pleasant VO system that's just kind of like lightly playing into your ears.
It's like it gives you time to think. And when you're in Disney World, you don't get that.
Also, the dark tunnels of this ride.
Really nice.
They kind of rip. Like
They
you
do.
go fast.
You could vape in them. Speaking
yeah,
of ripping.
Yeah, so you couldn't. Well, I don't think you could because there's probably IR
won't
cameras.
know.
They'll
They
know.
won't
They'll know.
When it does pick up speed, you really feel it.
You do.
What was the we said it maxed out at what?
7
like
miles per hour.
Doesn't feel like
it doesn't
it feels like 45.
Well, also that's a mental thing. In the dark, speed it's harder to perceive.
Yeah. Ooh.
That sounds like a movie quote. Like
Yeah,
should be on a poster.
Yeah.
Like
in
Space
the dark.
Mountain. Space Mountain's like what 27 miles an hour.
Feels like 1,000.
Also, I like the dark because it kind of has like a sensory deprivation feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it makes the slight motion of the vehicle even more pleasant.
Yeah, I could see that.
The silly little puns. Tom Morrow.
Paging Mr. Morrow. Mr. Tom Morrow.
Tom, very funny.
You
Funniest
H2O it to yourself.
You H2O it to yourself.
Incredible views of the rides that you typically don't see. You mentioned Buzz Lightyear, Space Mountain.
This is Starport 75.
Or as we locals call it, Space Mountain.
It keeps some of the fun weirdness of Walt's Tomorrowland. You know, things like the Carousel of Progress. A lot of like the early stages of Epcot, I feel like that vibe is here.
I mean, the big one for me is it ties Tomorrowland together. It gives it a kinetic energy that obviously it does not
That's
have
true.
at Disneyland anymore. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't think many other lands have an attraction that provides a more satisfying level of
They should put
kinetic
one
energy.
in every land.
Everyone, I was kind of surprised that Galaxy's Edge didn't get something that, you know.
Well, they were supposed to have something because, like, I think they did realize.
Galaxy's Edge
Wasn't it supposed to have some like
something?
banthas or something like that walk in, or I don't know.
Well, they were supposed to add a little more kinetic energy to it because it's pretty stagnant. Which brings me to the bads here. I do wish it was longer. I wish it was.
I wish it was twice as long.
I wish it went around the whole park.
Yeah,
and that might be a hot take because I know it would kind
cool.
of. Well, it would kind of ruin the contained nature of it being in Tomorrowland and that theme. I don't really give a shit, to be honest.
No.
I just want to move kind of fast yet still slow.
Yeah.
At a bird's eye view through some of my favorite parts of the park.
If a knock against it is, I wish there was even more.
So you're saying the Disneyland Railroad does not accomplish this?
It
ain't the
doesn't
same.
that much because you're kind of far away from a lot of things.
It's not interwoven.
You're not like
you know.
in the thick of it all. Like I know the Disneyland Railroad does take you through Splash Mountain or what used to be Splash Mountain, and it does kind of give you views of like the rivers of America at some points. But I wish it went through like the middle of the park. I think that's so cool to just weave through parts where people are walking below. Like imagine if you could have like a cool view of Big Thunder from like the back or something like that. How fucking cool would that be?
Look, the railroad's fine, but you're in a car with like 20, 30 people all just in those shitty seats.
Yeah, bumping elbows.
I think the car layout of the People Mover is just exquisite for you and your group of friends. There's like 4 to a car. You're facing each other.
Mm.
If you have more people, you can all kind of sit back to back and trade little. Hey, that was fun, huh? Hey, this is fun.
That's
Do
true.
you feel that breeze?
It does open
Yeah, I
the
do feel
door.
that
It
breeze.
opens the door for spontaneity. That
And
is
party
true.
vibes.
It opens the door for
And party vibes.
Party vibes.
Maybe you're more
Breadsticks.
since you're so much more familiar with it. But do you have the whole layout of the track memorized?
No,
You never.
It'd be kind of hard to.
I
pin
mean,
that
10
down.
years ago, maybe I probably could have. I've gone back very infrequently over the past
Yeah.
decade or so.
Another bad here. I'm angry. It's no longer in Disneyland.
Yeah.
Hey, that was my bad too.
But Disneyland Forward, which hasn't been, officially revealed at this point. I don't know if they were leaked or if they were officially announced, but somehow plans for Disneyland Forward got out, and Disneyland references the People Mover and the Skyway as possible ways to transport people across Disneyland Drive to the new park. So that would mean a People Mover that goes over the street, which is fucking cool. Which basically that's what Downtown Disney does already. So very exciting. We'll see if it happens. I'm not going to get my hopes up, but it would be great.
Do you think it would ever come back? By the way,
I think it might. I think it might.
But in Tomorrowland,
not in Tomorrowland. No, I think that's done. They're never gonna redo that structure because it would cost millions and millions of dollars.
Because at that point, you bulldoze the whole thing down, right?
To be fair, I don't quite like Tomorrowland in Disney World either.
I like it better.
I think it's pretty awesome in Magic
Yeah,
Kingdom.
I do too.
Now, if there was no People Mover at the Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland, it might be cheeks.
Yeah, the thing is, Tomorrowland is a flawed concept for a land to begin with.
People are supposed to live there.
Well, you're never gonna. No, it's not that.
Well, that's
Just
Epcot.
You're never gonna be able to keep up a land that's always supposed to be futuristic. Like
Yeah, you can.
Well,
just do rockets and aliens.
Walt
We
did
don't
that,
have those yet.
Walt did that with like fucking like cars and shit moving, and then of course now
Well, that's on him.
Yeah,
he knew cars
there's-
existed. He wasn't like, well, come to the world of tomorrow where we have cars.
I misspoke. It wasn't about cars. It was more about like going to the moon and shit like that, like rockets, like spaceships.
So go do that. Do space stuff. We're still not there.
All right, last bad here. If you aren't prepared for the simplicity of this ride, I could probably see how you would be underwhelmed and you wouldn't like it that much.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be properly
primed.
Primed.
You gotta be primed.
Yeah. You can't just take somebody on this and be like, this is going to be great. Especially if, like, the context is you just got off Space Mountain.
You're going to love this.
Yeah, I know you love that roller coaster that goes roller coaster in the dark. It's a hard sell for people who don't truly like taking in the parks. Do you have another bad, Byron? Or are we good?
Nope. I think that just about covers it.
Let's move on to the last portion of this, the world-class tests. This is a rubric of 10 tests painstakingly devised by Byron and myself to determine if an attraction is world-class. To receive the highly coveted world-class pass, the attraction must pass 7 out of 10 or 70% of the tests. A score of 6 out of 10 or 60% leaves the attraction up for debate, and anything lower than 60% is an automatic fail. I do want to say up top, just because I suspect what's going to happen here, just because this thing doesn't pass doesn't mean I think it's a bad ride. I don't see this passing, but you know what? I could be wrong. Here we go. Starting with the average tourist test. Would the average tourist have a hard time getting on this ride? Is it a long wait? Is there a complicated queue system?
Flying colors.
Flying colors, this is a pass. Yeah, there's no way this doesn't pass, right?
The only caveat I will bring to this test is I think a lot of average tourists could potentially just not put it on their radar, not have it on their wish list
but that's
of
not
attractions.
What the question is asked.
But if they want to get on this ride, super easy. And it is all over Tomorrowland. It's an easy pass.
This is one of the fun things about, like, particularly like a Disney park. They have these layups that are kind of spread across the park.
PhilharMagic fills that for me too.
Yeah, but that also sucks balls.
No,
so
it kicks
you
ass.
do have to remember that.
It sucks ass in Disneyland, but it's great in Disneyland.
It's the same film.
No, yes, but the one in the one in Disneyland is a teeny tiny screen, and the one in Disney World fills up the whole theater and is the widest screen.
But no one does get on that.
I do, and it kicks ass.
No, that's true. You do get on that. You get on that. It's just you in the theater alone, like Shia LaBeouf.
It rules. They added, I think they added Coco to it recently.
You just use solo clapping. So that's 1 for 1.
Great.
The Leslie Stahl test.
What the fuck?
Would you be willing to wait 60 minutes for this ride?
No.
No.
It is so rare that this ride ever reaches anything close to 60 minutes. As we said, the average wait time for this is 13. Absolutely not. You don't wait 60 minutes for this ride. Part of the what makes it so great is never having to wait.
I will say this, though. Let me paint a picture for... Well, this actually is for you.
Okay, thank you.
So you are on the last day of your Disney World vacation. You're probably not going to come back for several years.
Okay.
And you're like, I'll just tack on PeopleMover at the end of the night, and then we'll leave.
Yeah.
It's 60 minutes. You haven't gotten on it yet.
No, I'm not getting on it.
Okay. I'm curious.
I want to couch that, though, in my opinion, that I would not wait 60 minutes for any ride in any theme park at this point.
Really?
I don't care about rides.
Out!
At this point, fast passes, no one should have to stand in line for anything. Give me an appointment. I can't think, like when we were in Florida recently, and we went to Universal.
Yeah.
And you guys woke up early to ride rides.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm good. I'll catch up with you guys.
What's your favorite ride on Earth?
There's not a ride where I'm like, I gotta ride.
You wouldn't wait 60 for even a flight of passage?
No.
Damn.
It's a 10-minute ride. I don't want to wait in line for an hour.
That's interesting. I believe you. I do believe you.
I think it's all, I just, and I'm not saying it's because I'm an adult. I'm sure if I have kids eventually and they want to ride a ride, I'd wait an hour for something, but we've got technology now. Give us a time to show up.
Yeah, but then when you do that, you have to have a place to put all those people that aren't standing in lines, and that eats up your park.
Sure, I get it. I don't know. Then figure it out.
Is there anything in general, not even theme park related, that you would wait 60 minutes for?
That's a good question.
No.
Like a T-Swift concert, because people show up probably hours before that.
A midnight screening of Dark Knight in 2008.
Well, that I did.
I know, but today, if that was something what the fuck is the name of the new Chris Nolan movie? Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer. Would you wait 60 minutes in line for that? That's a 4-hour ordeal.
No, because they figured it out. Everyone has seats now, so you don't have to wait in line. It's crazy that we ever had to do that.
Hey, look, man, that's live your bliss. I'll wait in the line.
I'm just ahead of the curve.
Oh, Jesus Christ! All right, well that's a fail. 1 for 2. going to the smartphone test, test number 3. Does the queue of this ride have enough to keep you off your phone? Does it keep you engaged?
I mean, I feel like it should skate by this because it's such a walk-on.
Yeah, that's true.
And you're in the middle of, I'll say this, you're in the middle of Tomorrowland. There's ample snack opportunities right outside the line.
Opportunities.
So you could be slamming a churro or a drumstick in the
You could
line.
only slam a churro. You can't consume one.
And you have the sights of the world all around you.
You do.
You have that sort of 360 view as you're waiting in line of all of Tomorrowland.
I think if you're going to take this test at face value in the most literal translation, the queue is so short that you wouldn't be on your phone.
You don't have time to get it out.
You don't have time to get it out.
Get on the ride!
Yeah, they're ushering you on there. They're basically spanking you on the ass like a horse to
Yeah.
get on this bad boy.
Okay.
I actually think this is a pass.
I mean, I guess this doesn't count because we already have 2 of 3 saying it's a pass.
So 2 for 3.
Like, there's just nothing about this queue.
But
that,
there is no queue, though.
There's just
essentially.
nothing creative in this set of switchbacks that leads you up to the escalator.
But I've never even seen the switchbacks, for the most part, active. So,
Look,
granted,
it's a pass. It's a pass.
Moving on to test number 4, the Tony Stark test. How innovative is this attraction? Does it push theme park tech forward in any kind of way?
Did it initially?
It did back. Well, it kind of did, but it didn't. It did in the sense that it was the first, I think, of its system. But then again, nobody replicated that system, right? Am I incorrect in that? Like the people in the OmniMover, that has nothing to do with this, right?
I mean, for all intensive purposes, does the OmniMover system happen if this doesn't precede it?
Something to think about.
OmniMover is the Haunted Mansion.
I know what it is.
Okay, well, I just didn't know if you knew.
I didn't.
Because that kind of runs in a similar conveyor belt style. The main difference being that they got it to pivot.
They did
pretty early on for magnets to be propelling a vehicle. There still isn't a ride today that has anywhere close to as high of a capacity. So, in a way, it is incredibly innovative.
I'm battling the integrity here because
Especially
I love this
when it
ride
was
so much.
creative.
So I'm wondering if that's why I want to pass it or if it's because I actually believe it.
Well,
And
it sounds like Byron and I pass it.
It's a
good. Then I'll fail it. Then I'll fail it. You go. You two can pass
It still gets a pass.
Then, all right, cool. We're moving on then. Unbelievably, that's
3 for 4.
3 for 4. 3 for 4. Moving on to test number 5. The Hollywood test. Can this attraction be adapted for the silver screen? Does it have a comprehensive
This
story?
is one of your tests.
I mean, so many rides have done this.
I mean, I guess the closest you could come is Tomorrowland.
So no.
Well, I think Tomorrowland was capable of being. I mean, you wouldn't call it the People Mover.
You
movie.
would not. You would not call
the
it
People Movie.
Yeah, sounds great.
No, I guess it would not pass.
Well, that's a fail then. 3 for 5. Moving on to test number 6, the Simpson test. How likely is this to be replaced with something new? Much like the Simpsons replaced our beloved Back to the Future ride.
I'm gonna say no on that.
I mean, it quite literally did get replaced, though. It got replaced by rocket rods.
And
then that ride broke down, and then they shut it down forever. But in
I mean, I don't think they're going to be replacing it in Disney World.
Which might give them cold feet to try and take that risk again.
So in a weird
it
way,
seems like it's
like a backdoor pass.
I still think
it's running. You know,
I still think I'm gonna go with fail because maybe they don't just specifically reskin or repurpose PeopleMover, but they do something with Tomorrowland as a whole that makes this attraction a casualty.
This feels like you're 7 steps ahead at this point.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
You're talking about like,
I'm
well,
just saying
maybe
there's a world-
eventually the seas will rise and Florida will be.
I gotta propose
Subaquatic.
potential arguments.
I think it's a pass.
I don't think it's going anywhere.
I don't think it's going to go anywhere.
It does
either.
feel timeless.
What would they even replace it with? Like, it's not like it occupies a large footprint. The footprint is the park that, like, there's fucking people.
No,
there.
it would have to be a complete overhaul of Tomorrowland, or if they do anything like they're doing to Tokyo's Tomorrowland.
What are they doing there?
I don't check out that is some interesting concept.
They're
art,
doing
but I don't
some
know if
weird
they're
stuff
popular.
over there.
They're just like completely rebuilding it up, the whole Space Mountain and everything.
They would need to level Tomorrowland, and I think in that case, that's not really fair to the test. So I think it's a pass. And
I think it's a pass.
Okay, so then we're passing it. Let's go to test number 7. The signature moment test. Can this ride hold its own without its signature moment? Is it a one-trick pony? Now, this is interesting because most rides we cover have like a discernible story. There is like different moments in the ride, whereas this, I guess, what would
it's
even
weird
be?
because I think the the simplicity of the ride, the one-trick poniness of it is the entire appeal. I don't understand this one.
Well,
what
for
are
instance,
you talking
like,
about?
okay, for instance, if you go on Jurassic World, the big moment is the big dinosaur fight at the end. If you remove that, is there much more to the ride that is fun? And
okay, then I think this passes, honestly, personally.
I'd love to hear why.
Because for me, my favorite moment of the ride is when you go through Space Mountain. I think that's thrilling to see Space Mountain from the viewpoint of someone who is not on the roller coaster. You hear people screaming. It's cool. But also, I just love I think the rest of the ride is so relaxing and wonderful. It's a nice break from your day. You get the breeze. You see Tomorrowland.
That's true. You do get the leisurely stroll aspect of it.
If you weren't going through Space Mountain, I would still be having a great time.
Yeah, you still would get the leisure. You would lose, I guess, the behind-the-scenes aspect portion of the ride. However, there's other behind-the-scenes moments. Yeah. I have to say you convinced me. I think it is a pass.
I think it passes by not having, like, a definitive signature moment.
That's what I'm saying.
Ironically
the whole
enough,
appeal is like, it's chill vibes.
We've gone 5 for 7 over the first 7. That means we only need 2 more over the next 3 for it to be automatically a world-class pass. But before we get into the last 3, let's have a word from our sponsors. All right, we're back. Test number 8. Let's see if we could get there. The premature detraculation test. Does this ride finish too soon?
No. It's similar to my the first time I rode Pirates in Disneyland, and I was like, yeah. Like, it's 10 minutes into the ride, and I'm like, I'll take a little more of this.
Yeah.
I could get used to this.
I agree with you. I think it's the perfect length. It's enough time for you to have the actual thought, oh, I'm relaxed right now.
Yeah.
Which you don't often get at a theme park.
I've been on this several times and thought, I'm thrilled this isn't over yet.
Me too.
This ride is almost so long that I get so comfortable that when it's ending, I'm like, oh crap, I have to get off this thing.
I have to get off.
That's why you want to live there.
I could go right back on.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
no wait.
It does almost weirdly put you into kind of like a meditative state.
You're having a great time.
Or you get rowdy with your friends and put a breadstick between your zipper.
Yeah. That's a pass.
That's a pass.
It passed through the zipper. You're right. And it is a pass.
Come on now.
That's a pass. 6 for 8. All right. Well, we're in debate land now. No matter what, we get to debate whether or not it's world class. And honestly, seeing how this trio loves this ride, I think we're going to get there. Test number 9, the exit hall test. Do you see people be physically excited getting off this ride? Do they have that bounce? Are they talking about it?
I would say people, I don't know if they're excited about it.
Yeah.
I would say they have the bounce because they're refreshed.
I see what you're trying
to
do.
I think this ride is providing an essential service.
Yeah.
Which is revitalizing.
When I say do they have the bounce, are they like actually like, when you see people get off like Space Mountain, they're like sometimes shoving each other going, that was amazing, we got to get back on that. There's an actual physical excitement that I could see. And I'm, of course, not talking about a breadstick going through the
I think people got
zipper.
the bounce.
I think this is the kind of attraction that you kind of maybe like build like a reverence for, but on initial
ride,
I had the bounce.
It's more like that was delightful. I had a great time. It's not like, hell yeah, this is the defibrillator attraction.
It is.
That's going to spring load me into the rest of my day.
I don't think so. If I'm being honest with myself and thinking about it through the lens of a normal person getting on this ride, it's got to be a fail.
It's not a pass.
I don't know why I got excited about that. Yeah. I think I wanted the stakes to be high for this last question. That's a fail. So that means we are now at 6 out of 9, moving into test number 10. This is going to determine whether or not this gets the world-class pass. The last test, the fine wine test. Has this ride aged well? Has your opinion of the attraction appreciated or depreciated since your first experience? Or if it's a new ride, do you believe it will age well?
I mean, I think it's aged well solely because it's a simple ride that is providing a simple service. It seems fairly beloved.
I think because it's so simple, it hasn't changed its formula. Much like, like a staple in some sort of like a burger staple or some place that makes only bread or something.
Yeah.
They haven't changed up their formula over this time, and it still delivers on what it's promising. There's something to be said about consistency.
And the other thing is it's sort of will hold up as well as Tomorrowland does, because as Tomorrowland changes, so too does the landscape of the PeopleMover.
I haven't seen a lot of wear and tear on it either. Have you ever been on this where you were like, oh, that was kind of a shitty version?
No.
Right? It's either working or it isn't. It's,
I guess it depends solely on, the rides that you're riding through. Like if Space Mountain is shut down, but honestly, if Space Mountain's
shut down, it's even
then
better.
You get an even better show.
It would be hard for my opinion of this to get worse, especially because I enjoyed it from the beginning, and it delivers on that every single time. I love consistency. It's hard to find. It's a pass for me, which means then
I think every time I go back to Magic Kingdom, I'm like a little more excited to get on PeopleMover.
There's something very novel about it.
Are we just getting old? Is that like
No,
if we had like a
part of it?
If we had like a Benjamin Button like effect going on right now, like if we lived in some weird Benjamin Button world and we were going backwards, would we still feel the same way? Okay, let's go for it.
All right. 1, 2, 3.
Pass.
Okay. Great. It's a world-class pass. It got 7 out of 10. It scooted in somehow. I know some of you probably will say that
You shouldn't feel guilty about this because whose vision was this? Mr. Walt Disney.
Oh boy. I will.
This is one of Walt's own.
I'm gonna call out that the Q thing was a little bit of a shoehorn muscle job there.
If you do take issue with this assessment, get a life.
I think this ride is simple and there's a beauty in the simplicity. I think it represents the start of what the park was meant to be. I think there's not a lot of attractions at Disney World, Disneyland, any of the parks that really kind of recaptured that same feeling. Whereas now we're seeing things go more into like IP land. And I'm just saying there is something nice to just a ride that's not trying to sell you on something.
Actually, it is. It's trying to. It's rides the ride.
Huh.
Because it's just like, hey, check out these rides.
I think it's a world-class attraction.
Great.
Officially, 7 out of 10. Deal with it. Anyways, that does it for this episode of For Your Amusement. Thank you all for watching or listening. If you're listening to this on your commute, perhaps, you can follow us on our social at FYA Pod on Twitter, Threads, not Twitter, Twix, or X, if that's what you're calling it. And you could also follow myself at Ryan Bergara on Instagram and at Ryan S. Bergara on Twitter. Byron, yours is at Byron A. Marin.
Nailed it.
Nice. On Instagram and Twitter. And then Shane is at Shane Madej.
On Instagram.
See you all next time. Bye-bye.
PeopleMover journey has nearly come full orbit. Thanks for riding with us. It's been a pleasure to have you. And even though we're concluding, this is always my favorite part. Because now is the time.
What do you think, gentlemen? Still a world-class attraction?
Go out and explore tomorrow. Today.
Now don't look at me. It's pleasant. It's pleasant.
I have to say, I don't think that Q passes the smartphone test. That's the one thing I'll say. Does that put it under world-class or no?
Yeah, that's what I think that'd be. You already made the call.
I'm just saying if I could take it back, I would.
Too bad you can't.
That's true.
It's world-class, gentlemen. According to you.
And you.
Yes.